Have you always wanted to paint intuitive figures, but just were a little intimidated or didn't know where to start? In this video, I will walk you through the beginning to the very end of how I go through the painting, make decisions, and this was recorded while I was teaching a live workshop in my studio. This painting went through some twists and turns before it got to its final landing place. And if you're in the Calgary area, you can see this painting at Webster Galleries. If we haven't met, I'm Pat from Scrivener Art and Design in Parksville, BC on Vancouver Island. I teach workshops in my studio and also online. I'm planning on opening up a membership in September. So if you're interested in a community, accountability, monthly projects and critiques, I'll leave the link in the description below where you can sign your name up for the interest list and get first notification when I'm ready to go. So without further ado, let's get on to the video of City Sidewalks. I'm starting by covering the background randomly with lots of color and pattern. I'm using a wide paddle brush from Liquitex, and right now I'm staying on the warm side of the color wheel. If you don't understand color theory, I would suggest you be very cautious about using opposites like blue and orange. You can see I've mixed some green here optically, and now I'm coming in with some magenta and I'm getting some purple. If you don't want this kind of color mixing, you want to make sure that you blow dry your layers or your colors in between adding new colors. It's easy enough to make mud with 3 primaries. Here I'm scratching back in with a catalyst wedge that has some divots. You could easily make your own with a credit card or a piece of mat board. I'm using some water-soluble crayon here just to scribble and make marks. And now using a catalyst wedge to pull some color down. I've got some optical mixing going with my magenta over blue. I've made some purple. It got a little darker there than I actually like for my first layer. But now I'm coming back in with some cerulean blue. My goal is to get all of the white space gone and have a really juicy background with lots of information, so I have something to respond to. I'm using a deli tray stamp here. So you'll be surprised what you can find around your house. This is an insulation pipe that I'm using as a stamp. Be sure to repeat your pattern in more than one place when you're doing this type of thing. Now I'm coming back in again with some scribbling and mark making. So this isn't necessary, but I like doing it. It helps me to stay loose, and it's something that I enjoy. This is a Martha Stewart stamp. It comes in a set with several sizes. And now I'm going to use some stenciling. And I like to use a makeup sponge to daub into the stencil. This helps eliminate getting a lot of paint going underneath the stencil. You want to be sure to repeat in more than one place, and don't cover every square inch of your stencil. Do it a little bit randomly. That makes it more interesting. And here I'm using the sponge brush and I'm making some little marks. And now some lines. So see what you can do with materials that you have that can make marks in your work so they become unique to you. I'm coming in with some white paint here with my deli tray. I'm using an opaque color with this stamp. And again, not filling in the whole stencil. I should have said earlier, not filling in the whole stencil, but just doing some of its pattern randomly in places. So this is starting to look pretty interesting to me with a lot of different pattern and motifs. When you are picking your patterns, though, you want to make sure that they kind of talk to each other and they feel right to you. So even though you want a variety of differences, you don't want so many differences that it kind of looks like tossed salad. You want some consistency. So here I'm coming in with some more polka dots with one of these little craft rollers from the children's section of the store. So I've drawn out my figures on here, and now I'm coming back in negative painting. So this is a reductive technique, going in around them, but in this case I'm sticking with transparent colors, and I'm going to try and leave that till the end was my goal. And you'll see what happens later in the video. So coming around my shapes, and that's optically mixing in the background as well. So some of my blue dots became darker and more purple. Coming back into the figure now, working inside the form just to calm some of the figures down, because obviously there's a lot of pattern, and if I choose to keep the pattern in the background, I'm going to have to let some of it go in the figures. So that's a choice that you have to make. I'm going in around the legs with a darker, more opaque color of phthalo blue, and you'll start to see them pop out here pretty quick. And it's always hard at first to paint the legs in a reductive style. I find you can get easily confused and paint the leg in, but I do like to leave the initial paint as part of the leg so that it connects to the body. Even if I add paint on top of it, there can still be some connection with that underlying color. So in this painting, I'm having some figures go forward and some away. So I'm going to try and make my legs different, some shorter, some longer, some looking like they're walking. Just wiping off some of the wet paint, in this case, trying to extend that leg. Again, I'm using that wide paddle brush. I find I get a lot of control and a lot of coverage when I use it. I apologize for standing right in front of the camera there. This painting was done as a demo in a workshop, so you will see that I am talking. I've erased the audio and just done the voiceover, just because there was probably a lot of chatter and laughter going on. Here you see me painting this figure dark, and I want to make it recede because it's further away, and also I want some plain figures so that it helps the pattern to stand out more. So painting like this takes lots of time and practice to paint intuitively without having any resources to look at. Now you can look at people pictures and get some inspiration and ideas, but really for myself, I like to respond to the painting mostly and just paint what comes up. So I'm adding some green here that I made from the blue and the yellow on my palette, and that's just a new color that I'm adding, so I want to be sure to add it in more than one place. It's very important that you keep your colors going around your whole painting, unless of course it is a highlight color that you're using as a focal point. So make sure to spread it across the entirety of the painting in little bits and pieces. I'd like to thank everyone who has supported me on Buy Me a Coffee. I really appreciate it, and it's going to definitely help me when I need to upgrade my video equipment and my lights. So if you're enjoying my videos, consider giving me a little tip on Buy Me a Coffee. Every little bit helps. I also have a Facebook group, a community group that you're welcome to come over and join if you are trying out some of my techniques and painting ideas. Feel free to post them in the group and get feedback from myself and other members. I'd love to see what you're doing. Just adding a bit more plain to this particular dress, bringing in some teal, and again making sure it goes throughout the painting. So this is Cobalt Teal by Golden. Sorry, it's not cobalt, it's just plain teal. It's much less expensive than the Cobalt Teal, and it's in a fluid paint. It's one of the colors that I do love buying as a premix color. So just coming back in, juicing up my color a little bit. Now I like to use lots of paint, and this is one thing that I notice that a lot of beginner artists, aspiring artists, don't really use enough paint on their work. So don't be shy with loading up your brush and putting on some paint. So this figure is going to be walking away, so I can indicate that quite easily with the positioning of the hat and also the neck. So when they're walking away, you will not see a neck. When they're walking forward, you will have a neck. So the hair and the hats give a lot of indication of the direction of the person. Putting in a purse here. So oftentimes I will cut and paste my purse on out of collage material, but today I'm just painting it in. So I've taken this pink color and I'm going to spot it around in a few places on this painting so it is connected. If you'd like a course on how to paint like this, please leave a comment. I have taught this online before as a live Zoom workshop, but I would also consider making it as a pre-recorded workshop. So let me know in the comments if it's something you're interested in, and if you have a preference as to which way that you would like to learn. If you prefer the self-study, maybe self-study with some guidance, or if you just prefer a live show up and get it done type workshop on Zoom. So I'm coming back in, starting to finesse, adding little bits of color here and there now, and coming back into this dress, adding some more pattern, bigger polka dots. Again, one of these little sponges from Martha Stewart's. Every time you put a new layer of transparent paint over a previous layer, it is going to make the color of it darker. And the one nice thing about transparent paint is that it allows the light to bounce back out of the paint. It's not absorbent, it's transparent, and so it lets the light go through and bounce back. So you're going to get a lot of vibrancy with transparent paints, whereas the opaque colors like the teal tends to look a lot flatter. So it's nice to have a combination of these two, because contrasts are very important as well in your work. So think about contrasts, and it's one of the things that we're going to be studying in my membership group with Mastrius. And I'd also like to say that I am going to be starting my own group. And if that's something that you're interested in some projects, some monthly critiques and feedback, a community, I'll leave the sign up form in the description so that you can add your name onto the list. And when I'm further along in the development of it and have it ready to go, I'm hoping for the fall, I will shoot you an email with all the information. I'm going to try and keep the price very accessible to begin with, so that I can get some feedback from people that come into the group, and as I develop it. So if that's something that you might be interested in, to have some monthly feedback and guidance and projects, please do add your name to the list. So just adding some hair in, and really now starting to make some decisions about finalizing the painting. It's getting to that stage, and even though this video is only like a half an hour long, this painting was done over the course of a 2-day workshop, so it did take a considerable amount of time. There's lots of thinking that goes into it, and trials and errors, and that's part of the process. So if you enjoy process painting and letting the story unfold, this may be your style of painting to work intuitively. If you prefer more having something to copy, if it's a bit of a safety net for you, you can certainly make a messy background and use your photo references to place the figure on top of that and work into it. So there's lots of ways that you can do this and still get a really interesting painting. So don't think that it's too hard for you, or you could never find figures in your work. There's other ways of being able to come up with your composition. So just adding a little bit more color in here, softening up some of my dots. Finessing a little bit in around her upper body and neck. And again, coming back in, just adjusting the shape on that hat to really make that one look like they're walking away. I don't like to put too much detail into my faces, but at the same time, I don't like them totally flat. So I like to put a little bit of shading. When you do this, be sure that the light is coming from the same direction on all of your faces. And again, I'm lightening up the hands here so that you can see them. Using a finger is often a very good way to soften edges on your work, and that's another important topic is edges. There's two types of edges, hard edges and soft edges. So it's nice to have both going on in your paintings. You don't want everything so hard edged that it draws a lot of attention to everything. Some soft edges, blurry edges are also nice to have. So again, just softening down those dots. Now this paint is fairly opaque, but I'm putting it on very lightly. And I'm just coming in here, changing that hemline a little bit so it doesn't look like it lined up with the other one. All of these are minor considerations, and they take a while to develop your eye to decide what you want to do and what is working, and you have to test things. So here I've decided to add some stripes to the bottom of this dress. You have to also figure out what marks you like, what patterns you like. So I really like the kind of geometric stamp that or stencil that I used earlier, but I love polka dots and I love stripes. So often I try and choose those to incorporate into my work. So my purse was kind of getting lost. As you can see, it started soft pink, then it became fuchsia, and now it's turning into an orange purse. So you've got to keep testing things, and I'm putting in a strap. Now the strap, you can't really see the strap very well based on the color against the orange, so I'm just wiping. I've decided to add some polka dots onto the top of this dress. So now that it's dry, I'm going to come back over and put a black strap on top so that it's more visible. So in the end, I decided I didn't like that either, that it all felt wrong and too busy. So I'm wiping it off with a damp rag. And I'm coming back in with my magenta just to cover that up. And now painting my purse again with some orange. And I'm going to put just a small handle on this purse. So I'm using a small pointed brush to do this so it's more like a handbag. And I find that suits better than having that long strap on. So now I'm doing a little bit of edging and juicing up the colors a little bit more. Adding a little bit of shadowing down at the feet area. So again, just little touches of color here and there to kind of pull things together. These are subtle little details that can make a big difference. You can also use some dry mark making material to do this. You can introduce oil pastels or woody stabilos or mark making acrylic markers. Now, as much as I really did like this, I started to feel like it was just too much. And I'm coming back in and painting over it, but have decided to leave a little bit of the stripe fringy at the bottom. I think it was that big round circle that I was hanging on to, but it just was demanding way too much attention. So now that I've used that lime green, I'm coming in a few places with it just to connect the painting more. I've decided that I didn't like it in that area after all, but I'm going to put some green hair on this one. If you're in the Calgary area, you can see this particular painting at Webster Gallery and some other work of mine that is there, so stop in and check it out. I should mention it's 18 by 24 inch size. Here's the painting finished. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and share this with your friends. Thanks for watching. See you soon.